So you've got those. Anything else that you would think that they need to do?
We think those two examples would help a lot, and that they could do those very quickly, probably by next year.
Okay. Now we've talked primarily. You're in California. We've talked primarily. This all originated there, but there's 9 other states out there that have adopted this. How does this, what would happen in California, how does this, if at all, impact what's happening in terms of vehicle deployments there? And one of the things I want you to explain to me is this movable or roving EV thing where even if it's in California, they get credit for it somewhere else. I mean,
This is another example of what you're raising is another example of extra crediting that really should be phased out. What you're talking about is the so-called travel provision, which allows automakers who are selling battery electrics and fuel cells in California to count those credits, basically multiply those and use those in other states so that they don't have to deliver vehicles in those other states that have adopted California's program. Now, AIRB in 2012 said, let's get rid of that for battery electric vehicles in 2018, but they did not say that for fuel cell vehicles. So for fuel cell vehicles, that continues indefinitely, meaning an automaker that may be selling fuel cells in California may, through 2025 and beyond, only have to sell vehicles in California and not sell vehicles in those other states if they wanted to. We think that's a bad signal to the marketplace. It undermines the efforts in those other ZEV states like New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Vermont, Maryland, that have all adopted the program, Oregon as well, because in essence, they're not seeing as many vehicle model offerings in those states because, frankly, automakers have not really been required to make vehicle offerings in those states because of this travel provision. So we certainly want to see the travel provision for battery electrics end in 2018, and for AIRB to really look at whether or not we can end fuel cell travel at some point, maybe in 2018 or between 2018 and 2025.
Okay. So what is it that our listeners, people viewing this, what is it that they can do to help push this forward? Obviously, there's a handful will be in California, others will be basically scattered all over the world. So what interest is this to anybody outside of California? And what can the people do to help?
Yeah, it's of huge importance because these are the early markets, the deployments that will be reducing costs globally. So if you want to hit that tipping point that I talked about earlier, if you want to hit it in the earlier time frame rather than later in 2030 or beyond, these are the states that are really driving the technology. There's a decision point coming up in December in California where the board will be making recommendations on the ZEV program, on giving direction to staff of what to do on the Zero Emission Vehicle program. We want to see others support the ZEV program, the tune-up of the ZEV program, and also, frankly, defend the program. As we know, there's been a lot of outcry by automakers to further weaken it beyond where it's at right now. We don't think that's appropriate at all. And we do think that in those ZEV states, also the governors and the commissioners hearing from citizens about the importance of the ZEV program is a really good signal to send, because these are the market leaders in the US right now, and how successful they are over the next 10 years will really determine how successful the market is across the US, North America, and probably elsewhere as well.
Now, what's the political climate, do you think, for change at this point? Is the Is the board interested in that? Are they getting a lot of pushback from the car makers on this? What's the climate? Is this going to happen?
We had, in terms of the board meeting last week, all the board members heard loud and clear and actually reflected a lot of the concerns that we shared with them in terms of asking staff to go back by December, present some options to tighten up the program in a manner that really is ensuring that we're on track, that the program is on track and doesn't get stranded.
Okay. Well, so we have to revisit this thing now in December, I guess, and see how all that shakes out. And of course, at that point, we'll know who the president-to-be is going to be. That's a scary thought. So
That's right.
yeah, let's see what happens moving forward. So good. Simon, thank you for taking the time, persevering with me on our earlier technical problems, and please keep me in the loop on this. And yeah, and let's sort of plan to revisit this after the board makes whatever calls they're going to make.
Yeah. Thank you, Bill. It's been a pleasure, and we'll certainly follow up.
All righty, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.